Stop wasting time. You're probably procrastinating right now, aren't you? Here's why you keep doing it and how to finally stop. Procrastination. It's the thing we all say we're going to stop tomorrow, but somehow never do. It starts with a simple, I'll do it later, and before you know it, hours, days, even weeks have flown by, and nothing's changed. Sound familiar? Well, you're not alone. In fact, most people deal with procrastination at some point in their lives, whether it's with work, school, or even simple daily tasks. But here's the good news. It's not something you have to live with forever. You can beat it. Today, I'm going to share 5 proven strategies that will help you overcome procrastination once and for all. By the end of this video, you'll have practical tools you can start using right away to stop procrastination in its tracks. So, let's get real for a second. Why is it that we procrastinate in the first place? You know you have a deadline, you know the task is important, and yet there's this invisible force pulling you away from it. Whether it's checking social media, binge-watching TV shows, or just finding random tasks to distract yourself, it's easy to fall into that trap of doing literally anything but what you need to do. The truth is, procrastination isn't just about being lazy or lacking willpower. It runs much deeper than that. In fact, it's often tied to anxiety, perfectionism, or even a fear of failure. Maybe the task seems too overwhelming, so you push it off. Or maybe you're just waiting for the perfect time to start. Either way, the result is the same. You're stuck in a cycle, and it's tough to break free. But here's where things start to change. If you're tired of that constant guilt and stress that comes with procrastination, stay with me. We're about to dive into 5 strategies that have helped countless people, myself included, finally conquer procrastination. Strategy 1, the 5-minute rule. One of the biggest reasons people procrastinate is because the task ahead feels overwhelming. Your brain tells you it's too much, so you avoid it. But here's the trick. You don't have to commit to hours of work right away. Instead, start with just 5 minutes. It's called the 5-minute rule. You tell yourself, I'm only going to work on this task for 5 minutes, and then I can stop if I want to. It might sound too simple to work, but here's the magic. Once you get started, you'll often find that it's easier to keep going. It's like tricking your brain. The hardest part is just getting started. But when you know you're only committing to a tiny chunk of time, it feels way less daunting. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, I'll do this later, just because it felt like too much? Starting with 5 minutes makes the task seem way more manageable. And most of the time, once you've gotten over that initial hurdle, you'll keep going for much longer than 5 minutes. Strategy 2, break it down. Here's a scenario. You have a massive project, and every time you think about it, you get overwhelmed. You have no idea where to start, so you avoid starting at all. Sound familiar? That's because your brain sees the task as too big and too complicated, so it defaults to procrastination. What you need to do is break the task down into smaller, bite-sized pieces. Instead of thinking about the whole project, focus on just one small part. For example, if you need to write a paper, don't think about the entire thing. Start with just brainstorming ideas or writing an outline. Once you break it down, the task doesn't feel nearly as intimidating. This technique works because it helps you shift your focus away from the overwhelming big picture and onto manageable steps. And here's the thing, completing one small step gives you momentum. Once you finish one part, you'll feel more confident and motivated to move on to the next. Strategy 3. Use the 2-minute rule for small tasks. Ever heard of the 2-minute rule? It's perfect for those tiny tasks that seem insignificant but pile up and become overwhelming. The rule is simple. If a task takes less than 2 minutes to complete, do it immediately. Think about how much time you spend putting off small things. Responding to an email, tidying up your workspace, or making a quick phone call. These tasks don't take much time, but the more you delay them, the more they add to your mental load. Instead of letting them pile up, get them done right away. This might sound minor, but it's a game changer for staying productive. You clear out the small stuff, which gives you more mental space and energy to focus on the bigger tasks. Plus, knocking off these quick wins gives you a sense of accomplishment, which can motivate you to tackle larger tasks. Strategy 4, manage your environment. Your environment plays a huge role in your ability to focus, or procrastinate. If you're surrounded by distractions, it's going to be way harder to stay on track. Think about it. How many times have you sat down to work only to be distracted by your phone, the TV, or even a messy desk? The solution? Create an environment that's optimized for productivity. Start by removing obvious distractions. Put your phone in another room or use an app that blocks distracting websites while you're working. Clean up your workspace so it's clutter-free. And if you're really serious about beating procrastination, set up a designated area where you only focus on work. Changing your environment might sound like a small thing, but it can make a massive difference in your ability to concentrate. When your brain associates a specific space with productivity, it's easier to get in the right mindset. Strategy 5, the power of accountability. Let's be real, when no one's watching, it's easy to slack off. That's why accountability is such a powerful tool for beating procrastination. When you know someone else is keeping tabs on your progress, you're way more likely to stay on track. There are a few ways you can create accountability. You could tell a friend or family member about your goals and ask them to check in with you. Or, if you're working on a big project, you could join a group of people with similar goals. Having someone to report back to, or just knowing that someone else is aware of your progress, can be incredibly motivating. Another way to hold yourself accountable is by setting deadlines, even if they're self-imposed. Give yourself a specific date to complete certain tasks, and if possible, make those deadlines public. When you have a deadline hanging over you, it's much harder to justify procrastination. By now, you've got 5 powerful strategies under your belt: the 5-minute rule, breaking tasks down, the 2-minute rule, managing your environment, and using accountability. But here's the key. None of these strategies will work if you don't actually use them. It's easy to learn new tips and tricks, but the real change happens when you start applying them to your daily life. So, what's the first thing you can do right now? Remember the 5-minute rule. Pick one task you've been putting off and commit to working on it for just 5 minutes today. You'll be surprised how quickly that small step can break the cycle of procrastination. Procrastination is something we all struggle with, but it doesn't have to control your life. By using these 5 proven strategies, starting small, breaking down tasks, handling the quick stuff immediately, optimizing your environment, and staying accountable, you can start taking back control of your time and your productivity. And it doesn't take massive changes. It's about those small shifts that add up over time. If you found this helpful, check out our next video to keep leveling up your mindset and motivation.